I've been involved with quite a few parts of our business, and at this point in time, I have the privilege of working across quite a few of our business units. So for me personally, I look at the impact that AI has in our business, but I also look at the opportunity it presents. And I think it's quite exciting. So I've seen this wave many times before. AI is a really big wave. What I think is important, if I had long, curly, blonde hair, I'd probably be a surfer. I don't. And I'd be on this wave. I still want to be on this wave. I don't want to be under it. I don't want to be chasing it. And I think that's important for all of you. So if anything, a call to action today, if you're not doing anything, I think you should start doing something. All right, so I want to get a bit of a sense of who's in the room. So if you can, let's just go through this. There's 4 kind of groups here. Try to keep it simple. So if you can put your hand up, if you're sort of part of a development team, you're either an analyst, a product owner, you're a tester, you're an engineer, anything like that. Put up your hands, please. Let's just get a sense. All right. Okay, not that many. All right, cool. It's not that technical a talk, so you're fine. Okay, those that govern and secure. This is the favorite people. They're the ones that let their hair down at the party. It's your compliance officers, risks, security. Anybody like that in the room? Who represents this group? Oh, there we go. You're in the minority. All right, but welcome. Okay, then there are quite a few people that usually lead and guide teams. And this could be if your technical architects, your engineering leads, it could be your CIO, it could be a project program manager, it could be from the project office, product owners, anybody like that in the room. Please put up your hands. Okay, there's quite a lot of you. All right, and then anybody that represents the business. Yeah? You're also in the minority. Okay, all right, good. I think it helps Morgan and myself just, I think, tailor our conversation a little bit to you. Maybe this is going to be a little bit of an obvious question, but you'll understand why I'm asking it. So how disruptive do you think generative AI is going to be? So maybe let's just try this on the hands. Let's start at the bottom. Maybe it's the bottom. Incremental. Will it have an incremental impact on the world and your business? Hands up, anybody? Oh, okay, there's one. Do you think it'll be transformational? No? Still not many hands. Okay. Do you think it'll be revolutionary? All right. Cool. So it's a yes. It's going to be revolutionary. All right. If that's what you think, I'm really quite curious as to what you're actually doing in your business. So if we can do one more set of votes. This is going to be the last time I'm going to ask you to put your hands up. So think about these dimensions. Probably the best way I could create a bit of a scale of what you might be doing inside your business. Hands up for anybody that's really just, and you can put your hands up many times. I just want to see where the hands land. You're using it for task enhancement. It's responding to emails. When you write an email to your boss, Copilot, coach me please. Tell me to say thanks, please. I appreciate your support. It's getting old because I'm getting to type it before it even tells me. Anybody for task enhancements? This is email, auto-generation, things like that. Who's using it for auto-generation? Things like that. Okay. Some of you are not. Okay. Anybody using it for team productivity boosting? So this is quite specific. And in here go copilots, things like coding copilots, right? Dev teams use them to increase their productivity. So this is the basic use of copilots, generate content, but actually you're trying to boost productivity. Who's using it for those kinds of things? Who's in a team that's using it? All right, quite a lot fewer actually. Has anybody started a functional redesign? You've taken a process, a workflow inside your business, usually an internal one. Maybe it's an HR, an onboarding workflow. It might be something else, a requisitioning workflow, and embedded Gen AI into that workflow. Anybody done that? Hands up, please. Oh, we're down to 3 or 4 hands. All right. Anybody started reinventing some of those core value delivery processes, your products, your services, what you deliver to a client, right? Gen AI embedded in your product or services. Hands up, please. Okay. And then lastly, anybody started a new business because of Gen AI? Have you reinvented your business? Have you changed the business model? Last one, hands up. All right. There's not a lot of hands, okay? So I can tell you that because I'm looking at you. So if it's going to be so revolutionary, why are we playing around with task enhancements and team productivity? Oh, you knew it. Oh, okay. That's an excuse. All right, so as I said, I think, as you know, technology has been driven by quite a few major waves. This wave kind of started in November 2022. 30th November 2022. Do you remember what happened? ChatGPT launched. All right, ChatGPT launched. All right. This wave is going to be bigger. It's going to be faster than any other wave that you saw before this time. And you can see there are different winners. There are different winners and losers in these waves. Right now, a lot of focus on infrastructure, cloud computing build-out, the actual silicon. There's quite a lot of focus on data and building foundational models. All right. Now, why is it such a big wave? What's going on? Why is it so fast? Why is it so big? Well, when it launched, November 2022, there was probably about 1.5, 1.8 billion people on social media, Twitter, X now, or Reddit, similar social media platforms. So you knew about it. You were instantly aware, and you instantly knew about it. Probably about 5.5 billion people on the internet at that point in time. Pretty much every household in the world was connected. That's different from 10 years ago, right? So what's happening is the distribution channel is there, right? Everybody's aware. So now when a model update comes, everybody catches it straight away and everybody reacts to it. That's what's one of the causes of this wave being so big. It's also going to be hugely disruptive. So I suppose my message here is that it's going to be quite transformational for businesses, and I think you're going to require an organizational shift. Like cloud and agile, you had to build capabilities, you had to essentially adapt your culture, and you had to govern what it did and how it worked. So many of you have been to Geshicodon many times over, and I think our focus has always been on agile practices in some form or shape, but it's how to deliver faster and better, how to delight your customers. And ultimately, you've had to build out capabilities in your own organization. Some businesses are doing this well, and some businesses are still struggling. Right? So if you're still struggling with that, and I think Bess asked a question yesterday around agile. So if you can't adapt to an organizational change like this fast, it's going to be a problem. Unfortunately, technology changes very fast. People and businesses change very slow. So there's a risk. Now, why are organizations struggling to crack the code? I'm going to talk about 5 different things here. So the first one is I think that they have limited strategic clarity and focus. What does this mean? Does anybody here know about your AI vision inside your business? Do you know if there is an AI vision or a strategy? Can you put up your hands? Be keen to see. All right. Again, very few. I see 2 or 3 hands. That's part of the problem, right? So it launches and everybody starts playing around with it. But the leadership hasn't yet engaged with this. They don't know what to do. It's highly uncertain. And in some cases, that means you end up with lots and lots of experimentation. So how do you get your leadership aligned? How do you set out your objectives? Those are fundamental elements. It's a strategic question of how you're going to move forward with AI. The second reason is that it requires quite an extensive capability and talent gap. Pretty much how you had to learn many other skills in your life, how organizations had to adapt. This requires certain capabilities to be built out in your business, including the unfortunate requirement that you have some really serious talent in your business to do this. South Africa is not blessed with a very deep talent pool, unfortunately. We know this already. So you have to invest in reskilling some of your people, finding the right people, or finding partners to help you. The next one. So who has got a POC running in their business? Now I would expect lots of hands here now. Can you please show me? Is there any POCs running in your business? POC, a proof of concept, anything you're playing around with. Okay? Why is it not in production? So many businesses end up in POC limbo. Now, that's not unusual, right? As I said, experimentation is the norm right now. There's so much uncertainty, there's not clear direction, and therefore there's lots of experimentation. There's no real commitment to what to do. An example I can give you is that Johnson & Johnson in April 2025 actually announced that they're shifting their AI strategy. They had been on this journey for about a year, and they found that they had about 900 POCs working inside their business. 900, right? So if you don't have 900, at least you're better off. But Johnson & Johnson is a massive organization. What they then determined is that only 10 to 15% of these POCs actually generate 80% of the value. All right? So what they did is they essentially said, we're going to trim down all our POCs. We're going to focus on our high-value POCs, the ones that actually matter to our business. So I think like many organizations, they went through a cycle of opening up the technology, allowing experimentation, and then quickly determined that this is not going to go anywhere. And if we have to actually, or if we want to really have a revolutionary change to our business, we need to double down on that 10 to 15 or 20% in our business that's really going to matter. Identify those use cases and fund them. So that's what they did. Lastly, organizational headwinds to adoption. Now, if you've been through an agile adoption, if you've been through a cloud transformation, if you've gone through an ERP implementation, it doesn't really matter. You've seen these headwinds. Usually this is culture, mindset, often it's organizational structure, and sometimes it's your operating model. Things have to change. Nobody likes change. And then lastly, usually there's poor Gen AI diagnostics and analytics. So part of the reason when you want to put a Gen AI project together, you usually have to try to measure what it does. Has anybody got a diagnostic for any of your POCs? I'm just curious, if you've got a solution somewhere in production, or even if it's not in production, are you measuring something? Could you put your hand up, please? Anybody got anything in production? Yeah? What are you measuring? A chatbot, yeah? So it's like a knowledge assistant? Okay. So most common usages are implementation and deployment. Deployed my chatbot, it's working. Second one is adoption, somebody's using it. Is anybody measuring the business value? Very few people are. In fact, almost nobody is. That's exactly what Johnson & Johnson also realized. You have to focus on the business value. So again, what I'm saying to you is that you can run many experiments, hundreds of experiments. They're not going to shift the dial. What you need to do is figure out what direction you need to take and actually double down on something that's going to really be revolutionary in the business. So most businesses will probably go through a 3 to 5 year journey in Gen AI adoption, given these kinds of issues. Not unusual. For those of you that have been through agile transformation or anything like that, you'll be familiar with this kind of view. It takes time to change. I want to tell you a little bit about our journey because I think we did it perfectly. So I think these are probably some really good ingredients. I mean, clarity and alignment, commitment and focus. If we did all of these well, I think we'd be well on our way. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah? All right. So clarity and alignment. Well, you know, when ChatGPT came out, I think we started our AI lab practice team, individual, in 2023. So we quickly said, oh, this is something. We need to jump onto this. This is really important. This is going to be foundational. What is it going to do? Don't know yet. But let's get somebody to work on it. Unfortunately, the leadership team wasn't really aligned on this. Our budgets were set. We didn't really know how to invest in this, so we made a small investment in making sure we get somebody on board to start working through this. Great. I don't think we learned anything from that at all. Perhaps on how not to do it. But there wasn't really any impact in having a single individual or 1 or 2 people working on this, and there was no leadership support for it whatsoever. Second one, commitment and focus. Well, I already said, like, we had an AI leader, but we didn't really have much of a budget, so we had to kind of attach this AI lab to our data team. We said, listen, you can get a bit of support from the data engineers when they've got some time, and they'll help you build out some POCs. Unfortunately, they didn't know what to build either. So essentially, we started building lots and lots of solutions. We started experimenting with chatbots. We experimented with voice of the customer. We experimented with recruitment. We experimented with generating documents and summarizing documents. We experimented with loads of things. Unfortunately, most of those things went nowhere, right? Same problem. There wasn't really any focus on what we wanted to do. So I wouldn't say that we did that very well. Did we organize around client value? Well, we figured we'd build stuff that was valuable for clients. So the best way to do it is you build something and show a client, and then they give you some feedback, and you go, well, they don't like it, so let's build something else. We ended up cycling through POC after POC after POC, and I think we had some success. We learned a little bit about the fact that most people really wanted help with prompt engineering. They wanted to learn just how to prompt. But prompt engineering only really gets you so far, and then you have to do something real. And unfortunately, we really couldn't organize ourselves to anything that was really valuable to our clients. So I think we did that poorly as well. The last one, accelerating talent and capability development. Well, after quite some time, we had this AI leader. He'd been building out our COPs. He'd gotten some internal support from some of the teams. We thought we were really getting somewhere. And then he left. He resigned. And where did he go? He went to a massive AI startup. So if you think you're going to hold on to your talent, if they're not doing something meaningful in your business, you're wrong. So where were we on our talent journey? Nowhere. We started from scratch, essentially. This is a sad story. I almost have tears in my eyes. And we needed a better way to do this. That was really the resolution. So what did we do? Well, fortunately, the Agile community is a great community, even internationally. But we kind of resolved to saying that we don't want to do the same thing again. So if we're going to do this, we needed a framework, right? Now, I'm not saying frameworks are the silver bullet, right? Whether it's safe or anything else, right? Frameworks aren't the silver bullet, but they do provide a way for you to really think quite clearly about what you have to do. And if we get a framework, we want to also make sure that, and we got this framework, it's a Keys to Winning framework from a partner accelerated innovation group out of the US. And the interesting part is if you look at that top of the pyramid, it starts with a clear and compelling Gen AI vision. And what does that mean? Well, you have to kind of understand what you want to do with this thing. What's the vision for the business? Is it revolutionary? Is it transformational? Is it incremental? If it's incremental, keep playing around with your chatbots. Keep summarizing emails. It's no problem. That'll come. But we wanted to, I suppose, create some kind of focus and commitment. And for that, we had to actually build out a strategy and a roadmap. We had to mobilize a cross-functional team. And we definitely had to start focusing on building out the right capabilities in our business. It wasn't going to be a single person or a single team effort. Because if it happened again, that somebody key in our business left and our entire Gen AI strategy was going to go south, we'd be in trouble. So, I figured I'd tell you a bit about how to take that framework and what it means. How are you going to Geshido this Gen AI journey for yourselves? Maybe 3 to 5 years isn't in your future. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. I don't know. We'll see. But a couple of things I could recommend. So first, I think it's quite important that you define your vision and assess your readiness. Now, those are two different things, but your leadership has to be aligned. So in most cases, when we engage now, we engage with the leadership teams. We engage with excos, senior leaders in the business that are asking the question of what should we do? Why should we care? Where should we do something about this? Who's doing something out there? What are our competitors doing? What's going to happen to our business, right? They're trying to understand the strategic drivers of their business. They're trying to understand the impact of their business. That requires some awareness. It requires some education. I think for many years, people thought Agile was something you installed. It's the silver bullet. It's going to fix all your problems. Gen AI, I think, and AI in general is going through exactly that same thing. It's pretty much, I think, at the peak of the hype cycle. And it isn't appropriate for every problem you want to solve. And I think that's part of what we actually often discuss with senior executives. But it's important to educate them to understand that they're aligned and that they're ready. And why do I say ready? It's very useful to understand where your organization is, whether you have data that's ready, whether you have any capabilities that you can use, whether your organizational processes have even been mapped out. Can you do anything about them? Do you understand them? But readiness is an important thing because it's all good and well to say you want to go, and then it's going to take another 6 months just to get ready to go. So usually it's just try to understand where we are before we get started. The second thing is, I think you need to mobilize to win. So that means build out a strategy. Now, most importantly here is that you have to address governance. I think it's important that AI is ethical, it's safe, it's responsible, it's secure. If you want to do anything meaningful, in most cases in your business, you're going to start dealing with sensitive data, right? You want to ensure data privacy is protected. You want to ensure that your customers, your clients, your employees are protected. You do not want to leak the wrong data. You do not want to create an issue. Security is a massive problem before you even move on. So get your governance right from the start. Then build out a roadmap. And most importantly, after that, prioritize high-value use cases, right? Because the low-value stuff is already on everybody's desktop, right? Everybody can access ChatGPT. Everybody can access a Copilot. It's great to create some productivity and task enhancers. It's great. It's not going to shift the dial in your business. Then I think you need to start focusing on delivering high impact solutions. Now, to do this, you either got to decide whether you are doing this by yourself, you're going to build this capability, you're going to hire these people, you're going to train these people, or you have to decide whether you're going to partner with others. And sometimes it's a mix of those two. Strangely enough, there's always some great champions that you find inside the business that really get it and they want to jump on board the journey. And I think it's useful to leverage them. So now you can see how this really relates back to when you're trying to scale agile, right? Scaling agile and scaling generative AI or AI in your business is exactly the same thing in many ways. So now you can launch pilots, but you want to create multidisciplinary teams, you want to understand the value streams, and you want to understand your processes, and you want to go and start delivering them effectively. What you usually do as you go through the cycle, you start identifying more and more gaps in your business. That's not unusual. You always start finding the problems, and then you want to go and continue upskilling your teams and getting more and more business functions involved. And then lastly, you want to refine and evolve and evaluate. Now, this looks very much like an agile journey, doesn't it? It's how you scale agile. Importantly, at the end, there's this monitoring outcomes. I mentioned this Gen AI feedback loop. It's important, I think, to create some insights, understand your business value, understand your security, your compliance, understand what those solutions are doing. Very much, as we heard even yesterday and today, customer experience is very important. You have to be listening to your customer. If any of your solutions are going out to your clients, if there's a fundamental product shift, you have to be measuring it. How do you know that there isn't hallucinations coming through on your LLM, on your model? How do you know that the advice given to your customer is right? How do you know that the actions recommended are correct? So there are many things that you have to monitor, and I suggest that you look at that from the start as you implement your solutions. So this couldn't be Geshido if I didn't kind of overlay the Geshido, what do you call them? They're not the virtues, yeah. So I think it's quite obvious here. So you can see, you've all practiced this many times in your own organization. Visualize and make transparent. That's about raising the awareness of what Gen AI can do inside the business. Making the leadership aware, making the teams and the business aware. Be transparent about what you're trying to do. Then organize yourself. Prioritize, sequence, and execute. Improve and evolve, and then obviously measure and monitor, because you can't get better if you don't do that. So I think to leave a few final thoughts with you, the path to adopting AI will be a journey. In some cases, it'll be a long journey. It'll probably be a bumpy journey. But I think if you set up from the start with a committed leadership team, you have a very clear strategy of what you want to do, and you start focusing on building out capabilities, you have a higher chance of success. And I didn't really even get into like the technical capabilities. Do you know how to set up your LLM ops, how to operate your language models, how to tune them, how to choose a model, how to integrate them into your business systems, how to test them, how to secure them? There are many technical capabilities that you need on top of the actual organizational delivery capabilities you need. And I think there are going to be clear implications for you and your competitors. If you're an early adopter and you do it successfully, you're going to see significant results. If you're late to this game, you're a middle adopter, you're going to need significant investment to catch up. And if you're late, really late, I think you'll face material risks and disruption. I want to leave a few takeaways with you, which is, I think you've heard me say it. I think when you want to start this journey, you want to start with clarity, alignment, and prioritization. So start with making sure everybody's aligned and going in the right direction. Secondly, AI is a capability journey. It needs to be strategic, all right? Those task enhancers, process improvements are great, but they're not going to shift the dial. If you're going to put your time and effort into something, make sure it's meaningful, it's supported throughout the organization. And as you've seen, scaling AI works best when you use it with agile practices. This is a very uncertain environment, and one thing you do when there's uncertainty, it's very useful to measure, to iterate, to learn from your mistakes, and then course correct. I bet you won't get it right the first time. I'm going to be handing over to Morgan now, but I can leave a bit of time for some questions. I just wanted to maybe frame that most of the value that will be created by AI is probably going to be in the application layer, which is why we wanted Morgan to kind of talk to you a bit about what's happening in our software dev teams. What are they doing? What value do they see being created in future? So with that, I'm done. Do you want to do questions now, Morgan, or do you want to wait to the end? We've got a bit of time. Maybe before I hand over to Morgan, are there any questions? Any good questions? Yes, Fred.
I know you're saying it's early days and people are still experimenting, but have you seen anything out there that's really impressed you? Any South African entities that have done something meaningful, something big that you've gone, wow, that's really standing out?
No.
He's German, right? He's going to give us a straight answer. I'll be like,
Did you
really?
want the long answer? No, I
there you
haven't. No, I haven't. And look, I do think some businesses are in experimental stage in that they are taking POCs to the point of pre-production, and they're really iterating through them before they launch them. What I think, like anything, is going to happen very quickly. All of a sudden, you're going to see something come online, and you're going to see a whole set of competitors start responding to whatever came out into the market. I think there's quite a few things that are happening in terms of customer service already. We know the chatbots are kind of really advancing. Customer service is a great starting point for many businesses. But I wouldn't say there's anything that I've been impressed with, no. I don't think there's been anything revolutionary that I've seen. Happy to be corrected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a question. Oh, let me go.
Is there a question at the back?
Can I add to that? I think one of the things that we're seeing is that as they're doing POCs, we have the same scaling challenges that most organizations have, right? Integrating into your back end, getting the data. Now you have to deal with all the other parties that are legacy, and you deal with all those processes and bureaucracy to get on somebody else's book of work or somebody else's backlog, and you then wait for dependency. Remember, any dependency is a potential point of failure. And that's what happens. Like, we got all these great ideas, but when we have to scale the solution to the enterprise, we deal with the same legacy problems that any other solution will deal with. I think that's the challenge we have. But anyways, there's a question at the back. Where? Over here? Oh, there. Sorry, thank you. You forgot about that you had a question.
Almost. I was just wondering with AI, I mean, obviously there's different levels of AI. So, we're talking about generative AI, and then there's regenerative AI. So if you're starting off with AI, where do you actually start? Is there like a starting level where you start a company off at? Or, and how does that evolve with Agile if you're suddenly moving from generative to regenerative?
Yeah.
What's the roadmap there?
Sure. So you're right. I mean, AI has actually been around for 60 years, right? So why now? Like, what's going on? But, developers have always been writing programs, if then else, right? Essentially rule-based systems. Econometrics has been around forever. You can run a statistical regression curve, you can use the math, and you can predict things, you can forecast things. And AI, especially in an industrial setting, has been around for a long time. So machine learning neural networks have been around for a long time. What you're talking about is, remember that large language models are built on top of neural networks, on top of the machine learning. And they've essentially fine-tuned and essentially introduced reinforcement learning is what you're talking about. The fact, though, that your input and output has changed completely now. The way you engage is very different. You can type it, you can speak it, it can give it an image, you can get text out, you can get speech out. So the interaction is very different. You couldn't interact with a model like that before. And I think part of the reason why generative AI is leading that is because it's actually become the interface at this point in time to access the AI underneath, right? And maybe once you change the user interface, and I don't think anybody's really settled on what is the user interface of the future. Is it going to be a search engine? Is it going to be an application? Is it going to be on your phone? Be on your watch? Where's the interface? How are you going to keep talking to AI? I don't think that code's been cracked either. But I think the reason that it is accelerating so much is because now you can interact with it. You can ask it questions.
And to add to that, I think it's the technology, the processing. So, NVIDIA obviously produced the GPUs, so I've got it right. I'm not technical, you see. But they produce the GPUs, and they actually say the war of AI is between China and America, not those, it's those that will be able to produce electricity faster. Because to run those GPUs, which is actually quite phenomenal, if you hear about this AI war, that's exactly what is happening. And America are far behind, actually, because they are in China, they're able to produce or build energy-producing nuclear power stations faster than Americans can because of all the regulation. And that's what's happening with Elon Musk. He's coming to try and break down the regulation so those things can happen faster. And that's why they've got the tariffs, because they want to stop them from actually importing the GPUs. and they're stealing the GPUs anyways through other places like South Korea and Hong Kong and all those other places that are purchasing those GPUs, those processing through that. So that's also part of it, is the speed or the ability to take that amount of data in the large language models. Did I get it right? I was quite technical.
Close enough.
So I was talk too much. I'm excited about this stuff.
A sad truth is that energy is a requirement to build out essentially machine learning and AI. South Africa is really in trouble, right? So we will be consumers as far as that goes. The only way that this is going to happen is we'll align with one or the other side, and we'll be consumers of the products that are built. It'll be very difficult to build something locally at scale like that. That doesn't mean we can't innovate and build fantastic products and services over time. All right.
To go.
Morgan has been looking for a long time, but thank you very much. If there's more questions, I'll be here later.
Thanks, Karl. Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Lovely to be here. I thought that was really well done, Karl. Thanks, Piers, for also chipping in and letting the juices start flowing. Today I've got a very specific topic, a thin slice of the AI world, and I think that it's really important that we understand that. As someone just asked in the audience, where, what, how, where does AI fit, what part of the business, what technologies can you use, etc. And I'm covering a very specific piece, the app revolution, or at least evolution is what we see it. So I got a small intro here. I've been lucky enough to be awarded the lead position in helping the software dev teams at iqbusiness reinvent themselves. I do that with my counterparts who are in this room here. I've got Davy and Jerry here. They both lead the software dev unit with me. And we look after just nearly 300 or so software engineers. So quite a big task, many different projects, many different types of technologies and skills and environments and clients and all those sorts of things. Right now, I'm extremely focused on AI and how that is reshaping our entire landscape. And you'll see later in the presentation, I'll talk a little bit more about it, but this is a really big thing for us. And I feel that it's not just a mindset shift, but it's not just a tool set shift, but a mindset shift as well. When I'm not dreaming about AI or worrying about AI or writing about AI or irritating everybody about AI, I'm also a father. I've got some pets, some children, these sorts of things, and I love the outdoors where I can just let my mind go free and de-stress from my day-to-day. But before I get into my presentation, I wanted to tell you a little bit around my journey and what that looked like. So it's a bit of a trip down memory lane for me. Who drinks wine? Okay, great. I've got more participants than you, Karl. 25 years ago, I finished studying, and I studied something called multimedia design and production. And at the end of that course, I decided that I wanted to be a programmer. I wanted to be a UX front-end engineer, and I got a job at a place called the Factory Web Solutions. Small business in Cape Town, and we were building database-driven sites before the world changed in front of us. I convinced the business owner at the time to employ Davy, my best mate from college, and the two of us started working there. And I've got to take you back here. 25 years ago, if you think about it, there was no infrastructure like there is today. There was no AWS, there was no Azure, there was no Docker, these environments didn't exist. Everything that you had to build and provision yourself. And that is quite something, looking back to where we are now. In the front-end world, we had to design everything in Photoshop, because that's the tool we had. And some of you are nodding, and I can see that you probably went through the pain of laying out every single thing and then cutting it up, putting it in HTML and actually building a database and then tying it together. I mean, flippin' hell. It took so long just to get anything done. There was no WordPress. There was no Shopify. Those things didn't exist. There was no content management systems out there. Can you believe it? So, the two of us, quite ambitious, thought to ourselves, well, we don't really like working for the Factory Web Solutions. Why don't we build a tool and then we'll build our own business? So we spent many nights hiding out in the parking lot, waiting for our boss to leave so that we could get back into the office and build our dream. It was amazing. I loved it. Every part of it. Sitting behind Davy and just going, please build it faster. Build it faster. Like, we've got to get to market. So cool, we did it. In a couple of months, 4 months, we built a very basic, rudimentary content management system, and we were ready. We were armed with this amazing tool, and we were going to become billionaires. So we found this book, and that's where the sort of story converges, is in this book that we found, we realized that the wine farmers in the Western Cape didn't have websites. I mean, that's how simple it was, right? We had an idea, we had a really cool product, and we sat there and we highlighted through this book, as you can see over there, all the farms that didn't have a web presence. It was quite easy. We just looked for an @webmail email address, and we knew we were there. In any case, we drove out to the wine farms. We sold 5-page websites. And sometimes we even got paid in wine. It was amazing. We were on the DOP system, actually. And we loved it. A case of Kanonkop, which Davy probably still has a bottle or two of it because he thinks it's art. You know, we got paid in that. So things have evolved, right? Things have changed. The rest is history, and we can go through that another time. Where are we now? We are in a really interesting space. If you are on LinkedIn, you're probably bombarded with this stuff every single day. If you're in the media, you're bombarded with it. If you're at these conferences, you're bombarded with it. And it's things that are saying to you that developers are completing tasks 50 to 56% faster. You know, 22% of pull requests at Microsoft are getting, and 8% increases at Accenture. 62% report 25% speed boost. 90% say it reduces mental load. These are huge, huge statements that you are seeing in the market. 90% of dev teams now use AI coding tools, up 61% from last year. Nearly half of us use 2+ in our workflows, and you can read the rest of those stats there. Why is this happening? There is so much money being spent by the global market on these tools, and to own these tools, and to own you and your environments to make you go faster. And the guys just previously mentioned this, you know, massive GPU and infra spend. It is unreal in actual fact. I don't know if you guys know what Lovable is. It's a prompt engineering tool. It's a vibe coding tool. This tool is built by 45 people, and it does $100 million in recurring revenue. That is 2 billion rand nearly. Roynet, our parent company, does 13 billion with 6,000 employees. That is remarkable. English has become the hottest programming language. And I get goosebumps when I say that, because I come from a world where I had to build everything from scratch. That is real. What happens when anybody, anywhere, with AI can build a tool? I'll let that sit with you a bit. What does that mean? Like, how many more products will be built? How many more solutions will be solved? How big is this market space when English is the hottest programming language? Now, I'll go a little bit into it because I think it's important for people to get this. We did this. We built chips, and then we put binary on it. We built machine code. Then we learned how to put programming on top of it, you know? And then we built interfaces. And forever and a day, we've been trying to interface with computers and workflows and our systems and the things that we do so that we can do things better. And now anybody can do it, almost. So this is truly a strategic inflection point in our business, in my software dev, our software dev business. And your business. Because that doesn't just talk to code, it talks to data, it talks to cloud, it talks to content itself, it talks to the democratization of knowledge. And that is a really, really big thing. So we were at an Agile conference, and I reworked these slides a number of times because I could upset people. Yes. But with that said, and all those things I've just said, then why the hell does it take so long to do anything? Why does it take us forever? If we've got 90% gains here, 100% gains there, everything is vibe coded, why? Why do we have endless meetings? Why is there endless business requirements? Why is there wireframes and functional specs and process flows, technical specs, architecture diagrams, testing plans, epics, stories, sprints, burn down charts, Jira, like Confluence, like more, just more stuff, like because of this. Not because we make more money off you by selling you all those things. No. Because it costs so much to build something. It costs so much to get it wrong. And so what we've done is we've put processes in place, architectures in place. We've created a way in which we can measure our output and we can get it right. Now, in a world where code is free one day, what is the value? Would it matter if you got it wrong? Would it really matter if you had to redo it? Would it matter? And that is a real big question that we're asking ourselves here every single day. This is why I don't sleep. I don't sleep because I know this. I know that it's the worst it will ever be today. And the things that we can do today are unbelievably different to what we were doing 20 years ago when we were driving out in our city Golf, getting paid in wine. Right. So here's a question for you. How long does it take to build a custom web app from start to finish? All the pieces in between, all the alignment, all the documentation, all the wireframes, all the designs, all the sign-offs, all the tests, all the production stuff. So we put it to the test, and I've put it to the test multiple times. But for this specific conference, I've done something very simple. And here's the brief, right? Is let's develop a survey tool for the Geshicodon conference that enables attendees to rate the presentations, share some feedback effortlessly on their mobile phone. You know, there's an admin section, you can access it, you can see who voted, you can see who entered. It needs to be fully database driven, and we've got to use the best technologies. We've got to use the best front-end technologies, the best database functionality. We've got to do all these things. So I'm going to ask some people here, and I'm just going to see if there's a raise of hands, is how long would it take your team in its current format to build that from start to finish in production? Give me a hand. Anybody? And there's no right or wrong answer, but just from your experience, how long would it take? Eh? Eh? 12 weeks. Okay, 12 weeks. Someone else? 12 weeks? Anyone else? Longer, shorter? Roughly. Okay, 12 weeks. And it makes sense because of all those things that I put over here, put at the back of this, because of the cost of it. Because the cost of getting it wrong is insane. We take all the people, we scope it out, we put them on the project, they start the project, and if we eventually show the thing and people don't like it, we've got to rework it. So you've got to do what the mantra says. The mantra says, measure twice, cut once, which makes complete sense. But does that make sense in a world where artificial intelligence does it 10,000 times faster than what humans can do it? So here's the thing, right? Here are some frameworks and some tools that you probably have seen. You know, you've got Replit, a vibe coding tool, very powerful, recently in the news for doing something bad. We can get into it. You've got Claude Code, Cursor, Firebase Studio. You've got your Copilot, which you're used to. You've got Figma Make, Kairos come out from AWS. There's Whimsical, Lovable, ChatGPT, Junie. I can put a slide up like this that is 10 times that with more tools in there. And that's confusing. And that is insane. It's like, how do you actually use these tools? What do these tools output? How good are they? Can they actually do what they say they can on the box? And so what we've been trying to do, or what we are busy doing, is we're building a framework that takes AI into account for the future of where our business is going. AI agents can write code, they can generate designs, they can build test cases, they can synthesize documentation, and they can do many, many, many more things. Traditional software dev lifecycle and frameworks weren't built in an age of AI. None of them were. Like, these are brand new, and they're moving faster than you've ever seen anything move in your whole life. So we needed a new methodology where AI is embedded from the vision through to the delivery, creating alignment between humans and machines. And I watched The Matrix last night. I was joking with these folks. I mean, like, shit, watch that. It's there are agents in there as well, by the way. So what have we been building? We've been building something that we call rapid vision. In the years that I've been involved in technology, and I have to say it just so that you believe me, is I've seen about 3,000 projects built. I've led about 300 plus people. I've seen it in enterprise. I've seen it at scale. I've seen small things, big things. I've seen ERPs. I've seen a lot of different things. And the one thing that we've always struggled with is stakeholder buy-in and fast. Most of the things we have been talking about at this conference is all around this alignment. How do we get these stakeholders to align with us so that our teams deliver something of value that they want and that they sign off? And let's be real with each other. All the planning and everything that you do only becomes visible when it's done. And then someone picks it up and goes, I don't like it. Who's seen that movie? Right. So Rapid Vision is a framework. It's a next-gen product delivery methodology for software engineering. It reimagines the way that teams build apps, shifting from planning-heavy documentation, document-driven processes, and AI-accelerated prototype-first collaboration. And there's a slice that I mentioned here, because obviously this is a big statement, and I know where the conversation will go, is like, can you build a banking application like this? And no. This has a very specific use case for where it sits in the agile world, and it hadn't been there before, not been able to be done as fast as this before. So the framework is rooted in the agile thinking, but it's engineered for unprecedented speed, alignment, and adaptability. And why do I say that? I say that because if you can develop it within rocket speed, you can change it in rocket speed, the time to value is very low, and it doesn't matter if you change it a whole lot of times. When you're ready and you've aligned, you can go to production and you can start another process, but it really, really speeds up that first process, your traditional planning and discovery type stuff. And it ensures that humans remain integral in the process, serving as the conductors. And this is a very, very important thing. I can have debates all day about this. Is the agent coding to a proper standard? What are the guardrails around that? How does security work? How do all these little things work? When we're using these things, we're losing control. And of course, the reason we do Agile and the reason we do all the planning in our normal day-to-day is because we are trying to make sure that the people that are building it know what to do and that we trust that they can do it, just like an agent. So what we did, and I want to quickly demo something which is high level, and I won't take you through the detail, is we challenged ourselves and said, right, can we build an app really fast? But can we have the guardrails and the frameworks attached to it so that we have documentation? Because you can't not have documentation, you can't not have test cases, you can't not have the things that we've spent so many years developing. But can we condense that and get an output really quickly? So I'm just going to swap to my browser quickly so that you guys can have a look. Can you see this over here? All right. So this Rapid Vision operating system is pretty simple. It's got a couple of stages in it. It's got a vision canvas, it's got a workspace, it's got a prototype planning space, it's got a build workspace, and it's got a scale and handover space. So the idea behind this is that you sit with a stakeholder for an app or an idea, whatever it may be, and you take down a very lightweight vision statement from them, just like you would in your traditional sense of things. I won't go through we'll run out of time. But pretty much, you've got a core vision statement, a strategic fit, who are the target users, blah, blah, blah. You start filling out these forms. Obviously, we use AI to enhance it, and we all know how nice it is in ChatGPT if we type something quite loose, and then we go, make me smart, and it makes you really clever. And this does a very similar thing, right? It takes a loose requirement, and it fleshes it out. You conduct it, you check it out, and then you approve it. And so the next one that you do is you've got some workshop materials, you dump all your wireframes in there, your process documents, you dump it all in there, and in a RAG, in a very clever way, it will take it all out of there so that it puts it into an architecture diagram. You've got a prototype thing here. Here's like a sitemap. So for example, in our use case here where I said build us a lightweight app, I wrote in there access the voting survey page exclusively by scanning the provided QR code, enter the QR code, blah, 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 and I talk about the dashboard and all that sort of thing, just like you would in a requirement document. Fill it all out, and here's where it gets really interesting. And this is really where I think things will go. How do we put the guardrails around the AI? Because it's not there. What if you could build the perfect architecture for your AI so that it doesn't go rogue and it doesn't do things that it's not supposed to? So what this application does is it takes a loose brief. It gives you the frameworks and the things that you need in order to create the correct prompts for artificial intelligence. And it automatically gives you the structures that you need. It talks about naming conventions, patterns, database structures. It talks around file paths. It talks around the components. How do they work? How do you create metadata for the prompt? It gives you detailed breakdown of the AI guidelines. It gives you the best practice for the UI. It talks around the design guides. It does all those things off that very basic prompt. And then with artificial intelligence, you generate the ultimate prompt. So that's what you're trying to get to. You're trying to get to this place that this prompt that you've created talks technically to the right things that you want the AI to build so that it sticks with inside that frame set. And so you can do this in this application. Over here, we've got a whole lot of Markdown. I know it's a little bit technical for some people, but we've got some Markdown files that talks to schemas, README files, features, whatever you need. You take those, they're the guardrails of what you want to do. You take the single prompt and you just dump it into any AI agent that is good, any Anthropic agent, any Claude agent, any agent that can interpret it. And yeah, that kind of changes the game, right? So let me just go back here. I can find it. Right. 45 minutes. From start to finish. Full production. Done. Never touched it again. It's loose. It's a small app. It's not a banking app. It's not an ERP. But my God, I couldn't do that 20 years ago. No ways. Not to that level. Not while drinking coffee, exercising, taking a run, cleaning the dog stuff off the floor. Yeah. So what I'd like you to do so that we can demo it is please grab your phone. Let me just go here. Please grab your phone and do me a favor and let's see if we can crash it. Because I've not actually tested it. Scan it. It should authenticate you. You've got some forms that you can fill out. You can do some selections. You can do a couple of stuff. And I'll give you a minute to do it while I talk a little bit more around this topic because I'm so obsessed with it. I don't think we won't be in the middle. I think we will always be in the middle. I think that we will learn how to harness these tools and we'll get a lot of stuff done if we can change our organizational structures, if we can see the world differently through a lens of artificial intelligence, that it is part of our team and it is not something that is just that is there and that can't do the things that we need. I think we need to think that it is a senior person on the team and it can become extremely valuable and intentional if we give it those guardrails around what we're doing. We'll go to the dashboard just now and I'll check your votes. Hopefully you wouldn't be mean to me. So, working alignment beats working assumptions. So, early clarity avoids late stage waste. Very, very important, you know. Working prototypes align vision fast. So if you can do them extremely fast and at a high grade, what does that do to your sprint cycles? AI is part of your team. Use machines for speed, humans in the loop for insight. We will always be the conductors. I believe that. I believe that. Build modular, validate continuously, agile principles. Change isn't a risk in this world. It's a signal. Learning loops outperform planning buffers because you can get to market faster. Speed matters, but velocity equals value. You can measure the outcomes and not the outputs in a world of AI when it is doing it at rapid pace. Just quickly go to my browser. Right. So you can see at the bottom over there, like, oh, there it is, all the votes. Average rating 4.8 out of 5. Not bad. 100% conversion ratio. Love it. 35 comments, 66 responses, and counting. That was built in 45 minutes from start to finish with one prompt. Thank you very much.
Any questions?
I'm sure there will be lots of questions.
You said you need a full hour. Look at what you got, like 30 minutes left.
Oh, did I? Did I go quite
So,
quickly?
so what's going to happen? You're going to build another app live in front of everybody. How's that?
No, let's do something. I didn't know I would go so quickly. So
There's some
all
questions.
good.
No, it's brilliant.
Shoot it,
brilliant.
yeah.
Johan.
Brett, my question is, how should you structure your dev teams
Yes.
for this?
Great question, and we've got time for this. So, big topic. So you've got massive complexity, obviously, within the environments that you're currently working in. There's legacy code, there's legacy structure, there's legacy everything in most of these environments. Let's talk just as if it was a new greenfields project for now, because it makes it a bit easier to digest. What does the perfect team look like when you're using these tools at this sort of pace to get something done? We have a view that you have a vision strategist. So it's like your product owner. It's someone that can align with stakeholders, someone that can align with business vision, someone like that can pull those sort of like things together when you're having stakeholder meetings. UX, UI, user experience is a critical component of application development. If you're building stuff and no one can use it or it doesn't convert, then what's the point really? So we feel that you have your UX person in the mix and then your AI architect. Your architect makes sure that the guardrails you're putting in place and the outputs that you've got are within the standards of the business that you've set. And those three people could build some massive applications. And because we have a lot of time, I might even show you something else we built and how long it actually took to build that. So that's how I would do it. 3-person teams, architects that rotate around the vision strategist and the UX person, initial sort of build, and once you're happy with that, go into your traditional dev cycle because it's important. So what would normally happen here is we'd build a survey app like this. Ingrid would see it and go, geez, we really want one of those things. Can we do it for the whole of iqbusiness? Can we roll it out with this and that? And what you may then do is you may actually take what you've built there, port it into environment, and let your traditional dev teams go and run it. But we cut down the 12 weeks to 45 minutes for step 1. So that's really how I see it. It went dark, so I can't see anyone. Yeah. Yes.
How's this? So there's stories about the companies that, for example, reduced their workers because they're now using AI, have rehired them.
Yes.
And then you have Microsoft that's mass firing and the big things. So my thing is around 2 things. One is, when as a company do you decide that you are seeing enough productivity to actually remove the human element? And the second one is, obviously this thing is, as you said, can hallucinate quite a lot.
Yes.
And also one of the trepidations that businesses have around it is the fact that if we feed it our data, integrate it to our system, it can reshare it outside. So how do you put guardrails around, securitizing these things?
Yes, no, all good questions. I'll try to tackle it one by one. So the first thing is, what company that is scaling and growing is ever going to stop innovating? It's not going to happen. So like the initial fear when I started realizing what these tools could do, I was going, damn, I've got 300 software engineers. I only need 3, because I can get the same output. But that's a total lie, and that's not a real thing. Because when you've got the ability to output more and test more and validate more, you should be innovating more and building more product. And I think that humans will come around to that, and they'll start seeing that AI is assisting us in HR, admin, recruitment, whatever the areas are that we're working on. And we should just build better experiences so that we can validate them quicker and better. So I think that for now in the short term, I don't think that we would see massive reductions in that, from my personal opinion. I think we'll see better working environments, better product output, better life cycles that work. The second one is quite important. Everybody's got this notion that if we share information with an artificial intelligence, we're giving away our IP, we're giving away our secrets, we're doing all sorts of things, and we don't really know what the thing is doing and how it's hallucinating. The funny thing is, though, is that every engineer that works for me or works in our team has all the information in their head and works at a specific company for X amount of time and then goes to another company. I also don't know what their output's like. I also don't know what guardrails they've put in place. No one's verifying that. No one's checking that. What's more dangerous? A senior architect moving from bank to bank, or an AI in your environment ring-fenced with your IP in it? That's kind of where my head is at with that. I think it's safe if you do it right. And I think that you can provision things these days to build your own models, you can build your own agents, you can have your own data, you can do these things so that you don't have to share it with the world. But you're sharing it with the world, is the point, already. And you don't even know. Question?
Yeah, there's a question, yeah?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Part of your security guardrails and
Yeah.
the POPI Act.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've used your sharing functionality and I now have got access to 79 people's email addresses.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So as part of this little prototype, I did make sure that everybody can share with Insight, yeah, but you could put a security on there, yes, definitely. So please just say that, just put your hand up if it's okay.
Delete it. Delete it. What? I don't know what you demoed. I didn't see it.
No,
it's
just,
I feel
look,
like
what I've done is I've put the admin panel there so you can see all the people
Yeah,
in there, so yeah, on purpose.
There's a question here. Thank you, Tinus. There you go.
Hi, I'm keen on understanding what did it mean from a storage capacity point of view? Did the cloud costs go up, etc.?
For the
Cloud costs.
the cloud costs.
Yeah. So the storage.
Listen, I mean, so what's quite interesting with this particular, let me use this as a particular example. So I used that Rapid Vision framework, and we've obviously built a tool just to get the correct information up front, synthesized it into a very good brief, and I've used something called Replit, which is a pretty basic, it's like Lovable, but it's a pretty basic little tool to demonstrate this capability. Basically what you do is you build in that environment inside the Replit environment, and then you can take it out and you can put it on your own environment. The total cost of probably generating that app and storing it is like under $5, kind of a thing. If we now wanted to productize that, put it into Git, put it in our environment, then we would do our traditional stuff like AWS or Azure. You can totally do it, and then you can scale with that. So it would be, you have a lot of control with how much you want, so you can provision what your storage should be, what your latency is, like how much traffic's coming in and out. You can do all those things in these environments, but it can be a fraction of the cost. Because if that took 12 weeks with 5 people, that took $5. That was really the point that I wanted to make.
I was at the Microsoft conference earlier. They had a Microsoft Day, and actually, quite interesting enough, there's a specific focus, so they call it FinOps. And the role of actually understanding the cost of as you scale these solutions within the cloud. And it's actually quite an interesting topic that probably create another role somewhere in the organization with finance. They need to understand the actual cost of using stuff in the cloud and all that. It's very interesting.
The more LLMs you're using, the more AI you're using, all of it does add up. And depending on what services you're using, obviously the scale goes. So for those of you who are in Azure environments or Amazon environments using different artificial tools, they try to give you those views and they don't do a great job, but you can see how much those prices can go up if you're using all their functionality.